To give us a very high-level overview of how IBM is helping organizations around the world transform the opportunities of today into outcomes, please welcome Bob Guidotti, General Manager, Software Group Worldwide.
Thanks, Peter. Good morning and welcome. And I want to extend my welcome from all the other IBM executives and people here today for you joining us today. Look, when I joined IBM in 1979, we were on the verge of a major change in the industry. Sounds familiar. But back then in 1979, what we were doing was we were moving our data centers to distributed computing. Some of you in the room actually probably remember that. We were putting computers down into departments, and we were extending them out to small businesses throughout the world who had previously only had data coming from companies like ADP for payroll and things like that. When we were spending a lot of time going out there into the marketplace, showing people how they could now move computers into their departments. And the key word there was computers, because basically we were just continuing the evolution of automating their business processes. In the early 80s, we came out with personal computers. I was there for that one. And the reality was they weren't very personal. You know, you could bring them to your home, but the reality was we were putting them on people's desktops in the office. And it allowed us then to let them have 4 or 5 different sessions going at the same time, making our employees more productive. And it also highlighted the fact that our systems were put together, not to work together, but as individual systems that were going into our data and getting into our systems that our customers wish they could get to, but only our employees are getting access to. Then we moved into client server, and that explosion of all those different systems that were gone out there with host and printing capability. And then the internet came along. And that's what really opened up the open standards idea. We realized that, you know, by providing systems that were based on open capability, we would get a lot more technology to our end users. And then finally, personal computers came to light when we were able to give access to high-speed connections into people's homes. And that's what really changed things for a lot of businesses. Finally, instead of working off of these 4,800 baud modems and 9,600 baud modems, we're actually able to get technology to be functional in people's houses. But it was still based upon the computer. And the computer was still the central piece with operating systems and terminals that allowed people to get the different components, leveraging the internet, and that also changed the way that businesses did business with each other. Again, that expansion of open systems really made the major difference here. But then things changed again, and that's what we're about today. Now, all of a sudden, it's about devices. It's about not your computer, but it's about your mobile device. It's about your phone. It's about your tablet. I was just sitting down with Buell Duncan, and Buell's got that new Apple little guy that sits there. You know, I've got my iPad sitting next to his. I'm like sitting there going, gee, maybe I need to go get one of those, because that's cool. I was in Korea last week, and I was amazed at how many of the people over there, Korea and China, were walking around with the bigger Samsung phones that they had before. Many of you, I'm sure, are carrying those also. So the device spread is causing major changes in the way that things are working. And it's causing challenges in a lot of our businesses. You know, we've been talking all morning about the explosion of data and how it's impacting what's going on. But the reality is these are things that are happening today. And it's not going to change. It's not going to slow down. It's not going to be any different. You know, Jason talked about the evolution of how things are happening. The reality is they're not happening because they're just evolving. They're happening because people are inventing these technologies. The IBM Corporation spends $5 billion a year in these kind of investments in understanding how technology works, how to make those things smaller, faster, more compressed, more affordable. This is what we do. This is why we lead the world in patents every year, in making sure that we're taking this technology to the next level, enabling technology for the future. But there are challenges that come out of that. And some of these data points are really just a little bit scary. And the impact it has to the IT organization is going to continue. And the question is, how do we get these things under control? How do we keep them growing? How do we not allow for some of the things that we talked about this morning about security getting it to the point where all of a sudden it's damaging to what we're trying to get done? But these volumes are incredible. Being able to put sensors onto devices. The other day I came home, and I do a lot of traveling, so I was only home for a week last week. And on Wednesday, I walk in the house and my wife says, BMW called, you need to get your oil changed. Okay, that's fine. And then she looked at me, she goes, how do they know that? You know, why is it that your car is calling to get us an appointment to go get your oil changed back at BMW? It's a little bit scary. But at the same time, that's just where the world is going. And obviously, the devices that we're bringing into our homes are all having these types of sensors and providing this kind of information back. Back to the point where it's making things more usable, making things more adaptable to what we need to go do. But here are some of the other things that are going on that are also things that we have to be considering. These are things that are economically that are going on. 42,000 reported cyber attacks. These devices are also opening us up to other issues and concerns that as the business side and the IT side, we need to protect. $93 billion of lost sales because we didn't have the right inventory at the point in time that the person wants to acquire it. Now, I'll also tell you that Bete made a comment before that I found interesting. He said people are using the systems today because, like, if you wanted a book, you'd be able to get it delivered the next day. I have to introduce them to my iPad where I download those books right away. I ain't waiting for anything. I haven't been to a bookstore in a long time. Well, actually, I do go to bookstores. I go to look at the books, and then I go back into my, onto my system and I actually download them and I'll read them there. I don't know how many of you are doing the same thing, but that's the kind of stuff that goes on. But also look at how many people are moving to the cities. 70% of the Earth's population, out of 6.4 billion people, 70% of them in the cities. If that doesn't shake you up and make you think about how things have to be done differently, I don't know what does. And for all those people that have cell phones, you all want individual rates, individual usage. So there's lots of challenges. So at IBM, what we have done with our software business is we've changed it a bit. We used to have a very simple model. We used to have operating systems, and then we did something called build, run, manage. We built systems, we provided you the tools that you can build applications. We allowed you to run those in our systems, whether it be for transaction processing or database access, middleware, messaging, portals, all that technology that made up the middleware. Then we provided tools to manage it, secure it, storage management, things like that allowed you to make sure that things were running properly. Those were the good old days. Now we're moving into much different technologies that are available from IBM. And what I wanted to do this morning is just expose some of these things to you. Show you what we're doing, what we see in the marketplace, give you some examples of customers who are using it. Because each one of these categories is about an hour presentation in its own right, if not more. So if you're interested in any of these, I encourage you to please get to your IBM representatives that are in the room, our business partners who also provide this technology, and give us the opportunity to show you how this technology and what we're doing in this space. Because these are investments that IBM has made incredible dollars into. Not only do we have our large R&D, but we're also doing a tremendous number of acquisitions in this space. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've done close to $15 billion in acquisitions alone into our software marketplace, into these different types of areas. And the ones on the left-hand side where we talk about middleware, that's really the things that the IT organization is responsible for and are building out. On the right-hand side is where we have more of an industry view and the things that our end users in lines of business or in city management are using in order for them to run their business. And we do this across all different types of industries. It isn't just a matter of one industry, it's many different ones. And we understand that we have to get this customized to your particular area. We also have all different types of users that are part of this. Before we really spent most of our time worrying about the IT organization, today we spend a lot of our time in the area of chief marketing officers and health and human resources people and city managers. So as we start to structure this out, what we wanted to do is talk first about the IT area. There's some incredible data that goes on out there in the marketplace now. And if you do a comparison about where were people spending their dollars in the IT space, back in 1996, $100 billion market, 63% of that was spent on hardware, 29% was on server management and cost, and 8% on cooling. Look at the shift as they've now more than doubled the marketplace. We've shifted now from 63% on hardware down to 21%, almost flat if you do the math. But the real cost is where the increase is in server management and admin costs, going from 29% of $100 billion up to 67% of a $217 billion marketplace. That is shocking. that kind of tells you where the next focus will be in making sure as to how we can leverage that. Well, at the same time, you're hearing about the cloud. And it's really these kind of metrics that are causing people to really take a much more serious look at why the cloud is an important alternative to what they're doing. And we're seeing this market develop into 3 different areas. The 3 areas would be where people are providing solutions, complete solutions to small businesses and departments that provide them the capability to do their job without having to run the system on their own premise. What's interesting is it ties back to what I started with back in 1979. At that time, what we were doing is giving distributed computing capability into user departments, into small businesses, and now what we're realizing is the complexity and all the things that are going on evolutionary is causing us to go back to the point where now we're able to provide those services through high-speed communications and more customization to those same businesses. We also provide those cloud services at IBM. We'll take responsibility to run your environments for you. And finally, we're also working with large customers and putting together their own cloud systems, ones that they can evolve internally in their own business. You know, as an example, Citibank. Citibank was in a position that they were taking them a long time to get somebody who would order a server. They'd have to go through the PO process, to get the justifications, you have to order it, you have to get the site ready, you have to get the electrical, the power, you have to get it installed, you have to bring the operating system in, you have to test it, you have to get the communications. Some of you are very familiar with these activities. It's taken up to 45 days to get a server online. Now with cloud technology that we've implemented with them, within their own system, within their own boundaries, they're getting it up in less than an hour. Major difference here in productivity and costs and everything else like that. The thing that you have to recognize with the way that our systems are working today is how much utilization we're getting out of our systems. Today, our systems are running at about 15 to 20% of capacity. That's unbelievable. Now, our Z mainframes, they're constantly pegged above 90%. But we have so many servers out there today that are specialized and are only running for very short periods of time that are out there that are implemented that are not being leveraged. So the investment that we've made in our hardware technology is really at a very low capacity of actual usage. The question is, can we bring all that together, centralize it, and put it into an area that we can get much better performance out of? Those are the kinds of things that we're working on. Now, so we were talking before about cybersecurity. This is just some of the data around why cybersecurity is absolutely important to everybody. It is a coordinated threat. These are not individuals any longer that are out there trying to penetrate our systems, whether it be at the government or the business or the personal level. These are organized people who are together trying to hack into our systems. And they literally are coming in from the outside. They do it both aggressively and very smoothly. They put stuff onto our computers and malware that absolutely destroy the way that our systems work. These are things that are going on all the time. And our own technology evolution has caused this security issue to occur. And obviously, we need to take the steps necessary to prevent this from happening. And we're always trying to stay one step in front of all these people that are trying to do this. And it is, I don't want to use the term war, but it's darn close. You know, in the cyber world, this is what we go on all the time. And the IBM Corporation, the chart is not intended for you to be able to read, but if you're interested, and I know all of you are, in understanding what to do about security in your own environment, we have put together a complete framework of all the different components, whether it be from a server standpoint, a network standpoint, a people standpoint, of all the different components that you should be taking a look at and understanding what you should be doing in your own business. A lot of our customers are using this as a way of just taking a look and saying, do I have the security and the tools in order to prevent this type of access? It's not always going to be IBM. We recognize that. The intent here is to provide you an architecture and a framework that you can use to determine, are you in a position to ensure that you're covering all the bases? Now, obviously, we do have a lot of technology in this space. The little stars that are up there represent investments that we've made in the last 12 months of different types of businesses. Because 2 years ago, Ginny Rometty, our president CEO, supported us creating a new division in IBM just around security. Security had been something that many of our divisions had been working on, and the decision was we have to bring all of this together. It's no longer as effective as it needs to be when all the different parts are doing it. It's very effective now when the entire IBM Corporation has a centralized approach, coordinated in all of our technology and working together to ensure that our products, services, and capabilities are lined up and ready to go. And it comes in two forms. I'll just give you two examples, actually. One of them is the people that are working in your company. Being able to make sure that their systems are the ones that they need access to. You can bring them up quickly based upon their role, and you could use roles definitions, and also the amount of time that you're spending on making sure help desk works, automate all those processes, because help desk can make mistakes. We can give access to the wrong information to the wrong people, but through automated tools and some of the logic that we've now built into our systems, we allow that now to make sure that it's done much quicker, much accurate, for a lot less cost. While at the same time, we have to make sure that we are protecting our systems. You know, when you take a look at how many attacks are being made on our environment today, it is truly a bit scary. Thousands and thousands of people trying to just get access to our systems, and they're not doing it from a standpoint of, you know, let me go after you and just, you know, mess you up. They're doing it slowly. They're trying, they're testing. They're trying to see how effective can I be? Can I get to your systems? And they're just, just working it slowly, slowly, slowly. We have systems now that collect the data that's going on in your environment. And we then take that data and we analyze it. And we're providing feedback to our customers to ensure that they're aware of when these things are occurring. This is something that is new technology that is really outstanding, where we're combining our ability to do security and business analytics at the same time around an incredibly important topic. And we do it with high-speed data capture, and we do it with environments that are now, our customers are able to implement and stop things from happening that before were going on and they never knew about. And this is some of the examples of what we're doing here. We're working with many of the governments around the world to try to make sure that this kind of technology is being implemented to protect a lot of the different systems out there. And by the way, this is all commercially available type of technology. This isn't the future. This isn't what we're working on. This is what we have and we're doing for our customers in the marketplace. I don't know if that's me with the background noise or not, but I apologize for that. As far as mobile, I think we all recognize that mobile's changing the game. All of our devices, you know, I'll tell you what happened to me last night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was reading my mail. I think all of you probably read your mail at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm still a little bit on New York time. But what happened was I got a note from my boss. And he said, I really need you to be on this meeting at Wednesday morning. And you need to run this session for the rest of the worldwide leaders. And the topic is customer satisfaction, something that's very important in IBM. And the problem is I was going to be on an airplane. So I went on to grab my iPad, went on to Emirates, realized that now instead of flying out at 7:30 in the morning on Wednesday, I can now fly out at 2:30 in the morning on Thursday, thank you very much, arrive in New York by 7:45, and still be able to make my entire business day starting at 9 a.m. Now there's a bunch of people in this room now are going, holy crap, Guidotti just changed his airline travel, and we need to change all the delivery. Bob is sitting there going, ah, crap, here he goes again. You know, moving his flights around, doing all his changes. But the reality is, I was able to then commit to my boss and say, yes, you know, I will be there, I will run this meeting, you know, online through the tools that we have. But it's through that type of mobile capability that I'm now able to do my job a lot differently. We also have a complete mobile platform in IBM. We recognize this is probably one of the most important things that our customers are working on. We've done many acquisitions, we've developed, we're actually forming another unit in IBM in order to focus in on this particular area. And it's around being able to build new applications that take advantage of the technology, making sure it's managed and secured, and extending and transforming our capabilities of using this technology throughout. You want to do a switch? Thank you. Sounds like a snowstorm up here. Do I get to keep the other one? Yep, just stick that right in my pocket. Thank you very much. Do you want to kill the other one? Okay, I now is this how Madonna started? If I start dancing, leave. I gotta tell you, we had these simulators upstairs for race car driving, and you know it's a Formula One, and there's 3 of them set up out there. Thank you. 3 of them are set up upstairs so that we can do some you know, competition. And they said, Bob, what we want you to do is we want you to get into the car and, you know, you're going to take on the Formula One driver. Now, in North America, Formula One racing is not as popular as it is here. NASCAR is very popular. NASCAR is, if you can make a left-hand turn, you can run in the race. We don't have any of this, left-right thing. It's left turn. For hours, your left turn, high speed. But I looked at the car. If you guys are upstairs, you'll see it. I said, look, guys, I can get into that car, but I don't think I'm getting out of that car. This body is not built for speed. I'd get in there, and like Bete said, they would have to turn it over and shake me out in order to get me out of the thing. So, not sure how I got on that topic, but apologize. So, mobile's everywhere, just getting back, okay? We're seeing it in all parts of our business. You can't get away from it. And by the way, if you're running a business and you think you don't have this, that you have to deliver on this, think again. I don't care if it's your suppliers, your employees, everybody, everything obviously is going mobile. So now we shift over to big data. We've heard a lot about it today. And big data is something that is absolutely coming at us with an amazing amount of information. And it's hitting all different parts of our business. And we have to be able to handle it. It's hitting us not at the IT level, it's hitting us at the business level. And the opportunity here for both positive and negative is truly amazing. And again, IBM has developed architectures, platforms, for us to be able to go into the marketplace and explain what we're doing. You'll have a lot of people that will come to you and say, yes, I do big data, and what they're talking about is a data warehouse. You'll have others that will come to you and say, I'm doing big data and it's around analytics. You'll come others and say, we're about Hadoop. Well, we recognize that big data is a much bigger, broader category than those individual components. And it's made up of these various things. You have to be able to not only handle data, but you also have to handle all sorts of structured and unstructured data, video. All the information that's available that could possibly make you more productive and things that you want to analyze in your business, that we provide you not only the ability to store it, cleanse it, put it into where it needs to be, but also then analyze it. Now, how is this data being used? This is a prenatal care unit up in Canada. And because of the information that they were able to collect around their patients, even before the babies were born, through information around medical records, history of the family, actual, the examinations that were going on, identify the high-risk births that were going to take place, and then be able to make sure that those babies were put into an environment where then, again, more data could be collected on them and watched. I personally had a situation where a young lady who grew up my daughter has a child, but prior to when she was pregnant, the doctors found out that the baby had potential problems with their kidneys. And it was one of those things where, wow, this is going to be interesting. How would they find that out? But it was because of the tests that they were running. Courtney knew that there was something that was going to have to happen here. As soon as the baby was born, they were able to rush the baby into a prenatal situation and start working on the baby to ensure that the kidneys would be okay. That was a few weeks ago. He just went back for another checkup. Baby appears to be fine. So still some issues with the kidneys that they're watching for, but they can treat the baby. These are the kind of things, guys, that are changing the way in which we are acting and we do things in our world. These are the positive things that go on. These are things that really do make a difference. I'll talk more about those kinds of things that we're working on in IBM in a minute. Now, you guys have a little bit of energy issues here in Abu Dhabi, I understand. By the way, I just put solar panels on my house. I think I'm one of the cool kids. I now can go on the internet and see how every single panel is working on my house, how much energy I'm producing, and being able to now save on my electric bills back in the States. I can do that from anywhere in the world. And it's pretty cool. But the renewable energy piece of this thing and being able to use big data in our ability now to make sure that we're leveraging all the information possible as to how things should be working. In this particular instance, weather patterns. How do weather patterns affect the way that the wind is going to be shifting? How they can position their equipment? What needs to be at full capacity? If I'm going to have a condition where I'm not going to have all the wind, that's the time to start working on that equipment, to take it out of service, to go work on it, because you don't want a situation where I've taken something out of service to work on it during high volume peaks where I could be making a lot of money. And then we get into analytics. This to me is one of the most exciting areas that we have in the business today. These are things that really are going to be game changers for our customers. And being able to understand not just the revenue impact and the profit, but the return on investment. And as we start to take a look at these different components here, this is what different financial companies that use this technology, some of the benefits that they're seeing. If you're using analytics, profit growth, 20 times more than those who are not. For those who are using the understanding about revenue, 49% more revenue is being driven because of the analytics work that they're doing. And again, here's another set of, I'll say, componentry that most customers are looking at in different categories of analytics. I think you'll find that there's about 9 or 10 of them, different parts of analytics, and different tools that are required in order for you to do that. Not everybody needs all these tools. Some of you only need 1 or 2 or 3 of them, but the reality is the IBM Corporation, we understand all the different components. We understand how they have to work together. So as you evolve your analytics requirements, we have the technology to deliver to you. Some of this has been built internally. Some of it is built through acquisitions. All of it is being architected together to get the most leverage. And here are some examples. Best Buy. So here's a company in the United States selling all different types of things. And we were able to go show them through analytics on buying patterns of their customers, the marketing, and what was going on overall. And because of what we were able to show them, and we did this as a study, and we went to them and we said, look, here's some recommendations we would make based upon what our view is of your systems. You know, you get a flyer every week that has all this material in it. Well, these are the things that people are actually buying. And they're buying them. Some of these things are buying through the store. Other things are buying online. And you need to change your mix. You need to put different things in and make different offers. And Best Buy was able to then reduce their overall spend by 5 to 7% while increasing the effectiveness of their marketing materials 8 to 10 times. That's through analytics. And there's some additional examples of other companies and agencies that are able to affect their business outcomes because of the analytics that are done. And by the way, we're seeing a definite move here between mobile and our consumer coming together. You know, I had an experience recently I was ordering some things over for about 10 people in my organization. And I went to a website and it was, okay, I wanted to send the same thing to 10 different people. And I wanted to do one transaction, I'll give you the addresses for everybody, and life would be good. The way the system was set up, however, was every transaction required me to enter my billing information and my credit card information. And it said, if you want to store your credit card information, you know, make it faster. And I don't really like storing my credit card information on certain sites. I don't feel secure because it was my own personal credit card. And instead of me being able to then just put in these 10 addresses with one billing, it was making me do it 10 times. I stopped going to that site. It was when I went to to order the second one, I said, this is ridiculous. And I went to a different site that allowed me to do what I wanted to go do. We need to make sure that as we're doing mobile and we're doing things online and we're doing things with collaboration and social, we're doing them differently. Now, our commerce component is the most advanced commerce site and commerce capabilities in the world. We've been at this now for about 14 years. And we've recognized there's 4 major components to commerce. There's the buy side, obviously where you're procuring things and getting them through your systems. There's understanding marketing pieces, which is targeting it to specific individuals and all the analytic tools that are required in order to do that. There's the sell side, which gives you all that different type of ways in which you can reach your consumers and have them buy. And then there's the service side of being able to follow up. All of these things now are tightly integrated within our systems, sold separately because it's architected in an open environment, and we can now put in different components based upon what your needs are. But the reality is we've been incredibly successful in this with companies around the world. And we have a lot of business partners and service providers to help implement this in your business. We have examples of Telefonica in Brazil and what they were able to do with their 60 million customers, how they were able to reach them, be able to identify what their business needs were, what they were looking for, and customize the offering specifically to what it was that they wanted to do. And we were using techniques about marketing from a company we had acquired a few years ago called Unica. We use it internally in IBM. What Unica allows us to do is that we send a promotion to somebody, they may respond to it. We now have a record of that, and we can now watch that entire transition or that transaction all the way through. We can give them different material, give them different insights, getting them to move through their buying cycle and staying in contact with that customer the entire time, all through one system. That personalization of being able to go after individual customers and individual marketplaces is an incredibly effective way of using your marketing dollars to drive and identify new customers. Now, smarter cities, when you start taking a look at what's going on, population explosion, and what the governments are required to go do, these are areas in which we are absolutely focused on. And it gets back to two things that are going on in IBM. We're trying to use our technology literally to improve what's going on in the world. You know, we call it a smarter planet. And Ginny Rometty and the management team has been very careful to make sure all of us understand the importance of the impact that we have on not just businesses, but on the world itself. How can we improve the world in ways in which we had never imagined before? And we really look at the Smarter City Initiative as one of those ways. Watson is another, and I'll talk about Watson in a minute. But through Smarter Cities, we really do believe that we have the opportunity here to impact a lot of different things that hit the lives of people. And I don't think you can all read it here, but it's targeting certain things around social and health, public safety, urban planning, environment, energy and water, transportation. These are all modules that our governments have responsibility to deliver to the population. And IBM has been working with many of the cities around the world in understanding what the requirements are to build up this capability to ensure that we are being able to be responsive to all of us. Because this is a major piece of how we can get things better. You know, if we can avoid some of the catastrophes that hit in marketplaces, in our world, I think all of us would agree that's all good things. If we can take all of the data that's out there, whether it be weather-related, whether it be historical impact of certain conditions, you know, as an example, you know, there's in Rio, Crisis Management Center. You know, if we are going to have a weather pattern that's going to come through a major metropolitan area, and we can predict what's going to happen, to take the steps necessary in the planning to move people out of the way of danger, secure the site, and allow people then to survive, if you will, obviously those are all positive things that we're trying to work with. You know, recently we had a hurricane come through the New York metropolitan area that was incredibly damaging. You know, you probably heard of Sandy. It struck in the beginning of October and took out entire neighborhoods of people who had been living on the ocean. Now, because of the planning that we had done with the City of New York and other agencies, they were better prepared to at least get those people out of the sites of danger. And now, obviously, trying to rebuild those areas is the next critical piece that we've got to all chip in on and work on. But being able to get those people away from the sites. And what's interesting, there were unfortunate losses, but they were mostly from people who ignored the governments and the local people saying, get out of your homes because you're in direct danger. And they chose not to leave. That was their choice. It was unfortunate in many cases. But those are the kinds of things that if we can work together with the government and providing our technology, I think we can do a better thing here. Social. My kids are so social, it's unbelievable. A little scary. You know, they are on Twitter, they're on Facebook. They get me nervous a little bit about they're almost too open. But what's really interesting is they really don't even know how to talk to each other. I don't know about your kids, but my kids would rather communicate, you know, via text than actually talking to one another. And this started like 10 years ago. And I'll never forget what happened one time. We were in our car, and I'm driving the soccer mom van. I got 4 kids. 2 of them are in the very back. They have their headphones on. They're down. They're listening to their music, and they're on their cell phones. And my wife was trying to get their attention. They're twin girls. They're 13 at the time. And she was like, Cindy, Lindsay, Cindy, Lindsay. She wanted to talk to him about where we were going to go get something to eat. My wife takes out her cell phone and texts the kids in the back seat of the car. And I knew 10 years ago we were in trouble. What was really amazing is their response. They texted her back. We are 5 feet away from each other in a car, and these kids are texting each other and talking to, oh my God. But it was at that point that I realized that this collaboration and this social media, the thing that was going on here in this generation, is totally different than anything that we've ever seen before. And if you don't set up your systems to take advantage of this, I am just giving you the fair warning that your marketing techniques, your sales, your product management, development are in deep jeopardy. You have got to get into a position we are recognizing that these changes that are going on are going to impact all sorts of things in our marketplaces. And this is around social networking, portals, social content. I personally just had a meeting on Friday last week. Now, I run an organization of about 19,000 people worldwide, and I'm trying to reach out to all my managers. I had a call Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. So I know not everybody's going to be on. You got the China New Year. I got my guys on the West Coast of North America. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. They ain't getting up to listen to me. So we're recording this information. We had over 600 managers on this call. But now I can post that presentation, that recording, and by the way, when we were doing it live, people were on the phone and looking at my screen through our smart cloud in the IBM Corporation. So my screen, and I'm talking to them, and they're on their system looking at my material, the same thing I had on my system. We've now recorded that, so the other 1,400 managers or so can listen to that recording in their own free time, so that I can get my messages to my people. And the community that I've set up, I can personally reach out to people, ask them questions, get feedback from them. You talk about flattening your organization. Here I am as a 7th line manager or so in the IBM Corporation, and I can reach out to my thousands of sellers worldwide and get information directly from them and give them information directly as to what my expectations are. You know, eliminating any of that miscommunication that goes on between what I say and what they hear. This is technology that personally I'll be using throughout the year and throughout the remainder of my time here at IBM, which obviously has been a long time, as our boss likes to tell us, we're not here for a good time, we're here for a long time. You know, so get used to that one. But this is the kind of technology that really does make a difference in our lives. I'm going to skip over Pepsi, but I'll tell you, I just had dinner with them a couple of nights ago, actually about a couple weeks ago in Orlando, and their use of social media and being able to take all their bottlers and all their employees and now communicate changes what's going on in the marketplace incredibly quickly, and for them to interact now to their user community in a way in which they never had been able to do before, reaching tens of thousands of people in an instant versus what they used to have to do to try to reach out to their people. Now, last subject for you guys, new era of computers coming. If you haven't, you know, if you saw us a couple of years ago, we had this game called Jeopardy, in which we had a computer, which we were able to talk, you know, listen to questions, and then respond verbally. It's built on all technology. Jason mentioned it. You know, before it was 7 big systems, and now we've miniaturized it. But the important part of this thing is we are changing the way that systems work. No longer do you have to program them. You still do today, obviously, but the evolution is going to a point where we're not going to be programming them to tell them what it is that they need to do. They're getting to the point now where it's more of a cognitive issue. We just sent Watson to med school, spent 2 years feeding it information about what it is to be a doctor and all of the medical information, and being able to take in all x-rays, all the information that comes in, and be able to teach it what it is to be a doctor. Now you sit there and you say, well, how does that work? Here's how it works. You have a patient that walks in that has a very serious medical condition. You then give Watson their history of their families, all their medical records, x-rays, ultrasounds, all the material that's out there, all their critical nature, all of the drugs that they may have been prescribed in order to treat previous conditions, all of the things around that person. Now normally, in that kind of situation, you'd have to bring doctors in from all over the world to understand what are the conditions, what are the things that are happening, what did you see, what's happening, what should we do next for this critical patient. Watson has the ability now to take all of the modern information, the latest information available that's been fed to, analyze it, and make a recommendation. It's not going to make the decision, it's going to make the recommendation as to what is going on, and give you outputs, not just here's the answer, but here's why it's the answer. Here's the medical research that I have now reviewed and that I am basing my information on. This is why you need to take this action around this patient to treat them this way. Folks, this is an incredible milestone in the way in which the history of computers are being used. You can never program something to do this. This is around cognitive learning of a computer system that takes information of all different sources and be able to now give it information and give it information back. And by the way, it can also talk to you while you're going through it, which to me is interesting, but not that important. It's more important about all the analytics that it's doing, and it's doing it on commercially available hardware. It's built on our Power 7 technology. We are now going to be announcing this, and we are now starting to work with several of the communities around the healthcare. We're working with WellPoint, we're working with Memorial Sloan Kettering, we're working with Cleveland Clinic, and pulling all of this information together so that we can now support you and your families. This is what I talked before about the impact of the IBM Corporation on society. This is something we take very seriously. But it also has some business needs. Our tech support, help desk, things that before you would have to go do research on and find. If all that information is stored, we'd be able to have our customers ask the system, this is what I'm trying to do, and literally Watson can give them the answer. All the training that we do with help desk people about researching, wow, this is a pretty powerful employee that you could hire. Because all that training and information that you give to your employees, we can now give that to Watson and let Watson make the recommendations to the customers, directly or indirectly, about how things can change. And obviously, some of the things that go on in information, you think about cybersecurity, if it really understands what's going on, gets all the data, sees all the past records about anything that's going on, all the things that you can do to prevent it, make recommendations, I think you get to see we are at a holy smokes, turn, if you will, of what technology is going to mean over the next 5 to 10 years. If this is something that, to me, the IBM scientists, and we have more mathematicians, doctorates of mathematicians, than any other organization in the world working in Watson Research. When Jason was talking about, gee, all this evolution, guys, I have to tell you, it's coming out of labs. It's not magical. It's not being done because somebody else just thought of something. This is science, it's math, it's investment, and it's going to make a heck of a difference for our lives throughout everything that we do. And I will tell you, the IBM Corporation is committed to make this happen. So I want to thank you for listening to me this morning. All of the information that I was presenting before is going to be available in breakout sessions. If you have the opportunity to please attend these, that would be wonderful. If not, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to come to your site and provide you the information that you're looking for. We are very passionate about this. This is something that we do for a living. It's something that I have done personally for the last 30 years. And my sales organization is one in which is world-class throughout everywhere where we go. And this particular part of the marketplace is critical to us. We do think that this is just an outstanding place for the future technology to evolve and multiply. So with that, thank you all very much.